Hello, everybody. This is your favorite Bronze Age Spider-Man podcast. Here comes the Spider-Cast. As usual, I am your co-host, Mike L., and I'm joined by...
Joshua Mervell, and today we're going to be talking about some Spider-Man crossovers or appearances. We're going to start off with the Incredible Hulk Annual number 11, Marvel 2-in-1 Annual number 7, and then we're going to finish things off with the Incredible Hulk number 227.
That's right, and this week we're joined by two special guests. First off, G.I. Jolie.
Hi, everybody. I'm here again.
Welcome back. And we also have a first-time guest, my good friend Andrew Magri.
Hello.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So,
thanks for joining us.
So yeah, you might be confused by the content, but we are a Spider-Man podcast. So my first question, Andrew, is: are you a Spider-Man fan?
Oh yeah, I have been ever since I was a kid.
Cool. Like, what era did you get into Spider-Man? Do you remember like your first issue or anything?
That would be tough. I think for me it started with the movies. I mean, just because as a kid, everyone loves the Sam Raimi kind of the trilogy there. First comic though, that would have been a while ago. To be honest, I'm not sure.
Do you know what era you started?
Yeah, was it like Clone era? Was it 2000s?
Yeah, it would have been 2000s.
Interesting.
I would have, yeah. But then I went back and read a lot of the older stuff once I knew what I was kind of doing.
Nice.
So
I've got a master list of every Spider-Man appearance. So these issues came up, and sometimes I flip through them just to make sure Spidey's in them, like a lot. But in these ones, as you can tell, he's not in them very much. But it's okay because it adds some spice to our podcast. Sorry, what were you going to say, Andrew?
There was one of the comics where I was looking for him. I think it was the first one I read, and he was in there for one panel.
Right.
It's like,
yeah, and he's on the cover, so that counts.
He's on the cover too, I guess.
He's good. He's famous.
So let's talk about the annual first. This is one I remember because I had it as a kid. I remember this cover. It's really cool. And then I read it, and I remember why I don't remember the story. So this is written by Bill Mantlo, who we know from Spectacular Spider-Man. And It's inked by Joe Sinnot, who's famous for doing 60s Fantastic Four with Jack Kirby. He's one of Marvel's best inkers. And it's penciled by Rich Buckler, who at the time was a fairly successful artist, but I think over the years it's been proven that he swiped a lot of his panels from older Marvel artists. So he's kind of dismissed as kind of a joke now, to be honest. But there are definitely some good panels in here that we can talk about later. Yeah. But first let's talk about the story. So this is a strange time in Hulk's history. This is right before he became, I guess, one of the times he became intelligent. So around this point, which we'll see in Hulk 277, he had Bruce Banner's brain in control of the Hulk's body. But this is before that. So he's still kind of the classic Hulk that we all know and hate. So anyway, in this story, Bruce Banner is trying to... Oh, no, okay. Help, and I'm going to try and summarize this, but if I get anything wrong, you guys feel free to correct me. But he's trying to force himself to become the Hulk, correct?
Yeah.
Yes. And he's doing that because why? Because I don't remember. What? He's
seems to be strapped to some kind of chair.
Yeah, he's tied himself to a chair, and he's showing images.
That's right. He was trying to get the Hulk to remember, because he was obviously running around just destroying everything, and he's trying to get the Hulk to be, I guess, more in control.
Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Right.
I don't remember. So basically, so he's
this whole comic is a blur to me.
Yeah. He's in this spaceship. He breaks out, and basically the leader is there. Now, the leader is like the Hulk's main villain, and basically the Hulk, exits the plane, falls down. He's fine, and now what's happened is that the entire Earth is being infected with a pandemic, which is kind of a timely story here.
Yeah.
And so we touch base on everybody. We touch base with Fantastic Four, with Doctor Strange, with Peter Parker, which is why we read this issue. And all across the earth, people are trying to figure out the cure for this disease. And basically, Spider-Man has an encounter with them. And I don't know.
Right, because they're trying to do tests on people's blood, and like they're trying to look at the virus and how it's affecting people. And Peter Parker at the lab is trying to figure out what's going on, and he realizes there's some gamma radiation, so he wants to go get a vial of the Hulk's blood to test and compare to see if that's what's really going on. But they start fighting because Hulk has a miscommunication with Spider-Man, and he thinks that he wants to fight him.
Right.
And that's where he wants to get the blood from. But Spider-Man, it turns out, has this green virus, or the green flu, and faints, and is like taken away in an ambulance. And that's the last we see of Peter Parker, I believe, in this issue.
Right. Thank you, Josh, by the way, for saving me there. And then what happens after that? I just read this a few days ago, and I don't remember anything.
Right. We cut to the Avengers, and they go and they try to calm Hulk down because they see that he is rampaging through the city. Who has the fight? Yellow Jacket, or Ant-Man Hank Pym, turns out that he also has the green flu. And it's this like really weird, convoluted story where the leader, I think, took some of the Hulk's DNA and is putting it in the water, and that's what's turning everybody green.
Right. And the Hulk remembers that he has to get to the water. That's what it is.
Right, and he kind of has like this weird memory link with Leader for some reason. And like he keeps getting these memories, so like even when he's fighting Spider-Man, he's also having like flashes to like previous encounters with the leader, and it's leading him to this building, and the Avengers are kind of following him there to the building, and it all leads up to this kind of final confrontation with Leader, and after he has turned like one of his assistants into like another leader-like being like him, and like he wants her to be his wife, and it's this weird, gross thing, and they end up. I think Hulk ends up tackling the leader into the water. I don't remember. Remember how everything is resolved.
Well, because it isn't. But basically, the Hulk tumbles with the leader. He disappears, and then the assistant is just left laying there, and the Avengers are kind of surrounding her, and like that's pretty much the end.
It just ends.
Yeah, and another thing too is like the conclusion that we pretty much get is as the Hulk punches the leader into the water, he screams as he's falling to his what we think is his death. He yells, "She was unworthy to be my bride anyways. She'll soon revert to her normal self." So it's like, oh, okay, I guess everybody who has this flu is just going to be back to normal. The end. Like, there's no conclusion.
It's that typical, like, villain thing. You're like, oh, you defeat me. Okay, that's fine. You win. Here, have everything back.
And it's also a case of over-explaining... I mean, it needs to be explained, but just this is so poorly done. But so now that we've summarized the story, so Andrew, this is your first episode. Why don't you tell us what your impression is of this comic?
I mean, it was all right. It was, like I said, like you were saying, there was not much of a conclusion, I suppose. They were kind of just like, everything happened within the last couple panels. They're like, oh, we found the guy, and we found the thing, and now we got to do the cure in the end. And you're like, oh. Okay, wrapped up pretty quick, but I mean, it was a kind of a fun story watching like Spider-Man trying to. You're like, oh, it's just all a big miscommunication, which bad.
Yeah.
There's some nuggets in like the good moments, like Andrew was saying, I actually kind of like that we cut to Peter Parker, and it's definitely a natural way to include him into the story.
Right.
A lot of times he's just kind of thrown into somebody else's story. Peter Parker really feels like he belongs in the story when he is in it, and I think that like the confrontation with Hulk is fine. It's kind of fun having him contract this flu and faint. I think actually adds a little bit of weight to it, because we see that it can affect superheroes and super beings too. So like nobody's really immune or safe from this thing. So it kind of makes this seem like an urgent thing. We're now worried about a character that we know, but we don't really check back in with him. Nothing, like a couple of other people also faint, and then it just ends. So it's kind of like, you know, they had us, but it didn't really amount to anything. So we didn't really get to see a conclusion to that whole storyline. Right. I'm also beginning to realize I don't think I really like annuals very much. Well, annuals kind of suck. I really don't enjoy them. They're just too long. I think that's the thing, is they feel like they should be a normal size story, but because it's an annual, they really stretch it out as far as they possibly can, and they just throw in as many characters as they can as well. Like they're like, okay, this is the annual, this is the big issue, let's make it big, let's get everybody who reads our comics to want to read this, let's add all their favorite heroes in. And that's what these annuals feel like, and that's what this one ended up turning into for me by the end of it. Is it's just another drawn out story to show that we have all these characters and they all live in the same place. Right. But it just it didn't have any meat there. There was no flavor to anything. So
G.I. Jolie, what do you think?
Oh God. Just to kind of springboard off of the thought of those annuals, I never actually thought about them. Well, okay, I've only ever had one thought, which is why do they exist? Other than to cap a year of publishing the book, which still doesn't make any sense, especially when you use it to tell this crappy story. Right? So it's like, but here's the thing, it's like they involved, this is one of the things that I like about it. One, hey, look, it's Spider-Man. Whoa, you're right. He does fit in, but they involve all of this iteration of the New Avengers. So you see other characters, like you see Jocasta, who I love. Who I love to see. And it turns out that she's one of the, she's immune because she's an alien. And everybody, and I think the Vision is immune as well. Is the Vision in this one, or am I confusing it with another one?
Yes, he is.
Okay. Yeah, so everybody who's has alien sort of origins or isn't human, like Peter or Iron Man or the Beast, who isn't fainting and kind of out of it, they're all surviving and doing really well. Cap is doing okay because I think something inside of him, he's probably infected, but he's just not succumbing to it as quickly as everybody else.
Right. I guess he also has some sort of radiation or something like that with the super soldier serum, right? So
right, yeah.
You can kind of... it's fine.
Yeah, and I just... it just seems like while you guys were talking, I flipped to the end because I admittedly don't remember how it ended either. Yeah. So I was like, you know what? Really quickly, I'm just going to go back to there. And lo and behold, it's another yay, we work together message. It's like, okay, that's great. A message of working together and all types of people coming together for one common goal is great, except for you did it in a really poor way.
Right.
So, but
it's very poor, especially because it doesn't resolve the actual issue that happened. If it was this bad guy is terrorizing everybody, and we defeated the bad guy by working together, sure, whatever. It's not a good excuse to have that as an ending, but at least it works. Here's you worked together to punch a dude, and that ended a flu, a deadly flu. Oh, what happened? And like the thing is too, earlier when Spider-Man gets knocked out, the paramedics that see him fall are loading a body into a not in an ambulance, in, oh my god, what are the cars called that go to funerals? A hearse. So people are actually dying from this green flu. So there's no conclusion.
No, there is, but it's...
People are dying. It is an ambulance?
No, I'm saying there is a conclusion. It's just that they kind of say, where is it? Cap says, we know that the leader's antidote worked and we could get busy duplicating it. Thank heavens for the Hulk. So there is an antidote. Yeah, so there is.
I must have just missed that.
Yeah, it's so... Here's the thing is that I enjoyed reading this because it was an excuse to show everyone's reaction to how they would deal with it. So it was fun to like touch base with all these superheroes. But yeah, the fact that all four of us read it and none of us remember how it ended is very telling, right? Like, it's so awkwardly... Like, if you just go to the last 2 pages... It's like they're standing there at like whatever this is, the water reservoir, the fall, whatever. And it's like, Avengers, we are observed. 2 beings staring down at us from the shadows, both green. Like, it's just so bad. Like, there had to be a better way to do that. And then the way that the leader shoots the woman and, and then the Hulk, grabs him and they fall into the water. It's just really awkwardly done, I don't know. I mean, again... It had a good feel. Like I enjoyed it, but it's not a good comic.
Yeah. And I think it's so disappointing for me because there's so much filler in this. It's huge. It's an annual. There's 32 pages, right. and you had to cram an ending in the last page. Like, it's just. Right. I hate that so much. Like, it's so unsatisfying.
Well,
like, such an unsatisfying build-up.
Yeah, like if I was, again, I'm not a professional artist or writer, but if I was, I would say, the ending is probably the most important thing. So I'm going to plan out the ending so it works. Then I'll pace the rest of my book to get to that. But it seems like a lot of times they just keep drawing and drawing and drawing. Like, oh shit, we've got 5 pages of story and we've only got 1 page left to tell it. Like, well, why didn't you figure that out before you got to the end,
Yeah, it really does feel like they just went straight ahead and started drawing before doing layout or anything, like doing any planning of panels. I will say the art is really good. I actually really enjoyed the art. I really also enjoyed the panel layout and the panel designs. Right, like, there's some pretty interesting and unique moments, and the panels are on angles, or like in the center there's a circle surrounded by boxes. Like, there's some really cool looking panels. I
agree. Like, and the thing is because I know that he ripped off or swiped a lot of these panels, obviously I'm not saying he's a great artist, but he certainly used the page well. Like, he was creative. Everything looks really polished, like there's some good storytelling. There's a variety of close-ups, long shots, like you said, different angles, up and down. So I actually did really like the art. Andrew, what do you think of the art?
I like that it's got the really old classic, obviously because it's an older comic, but I was a fan of it. I do like that kind of stuff. So it was really cool, like the retro-y kind of style, I suppose.
Right. Jolie, what do you think?
Oh, sorry, I'm just enamored with this glamour shot of Dr. Robert Bruce Banner the Hulk at the end. I'm still on the last page, but like, I am just as angry as he is in this rendering that there's no actual conclusion to the book.
Yeah.
Yeah, the art's great. I mean, there's some really weird, like a lot of weirdness. And I think it's like digital 36, just the way that Cap is standing.
Yeah,
like
there's a couple of weird poses with Cap in particular.
And part of me wonders, it's like what is that? Sorry, about the penciler, I noticed in comics there's either people who are mimics, people who actually know anatomy, or people who mimics or people who know anatomy who can draw from memory. And like that, I don't know what that was born from.
Are you talking about the shot from behind?
Yeah, where you see his
right,
where you see America's ass.
Yeah.
And then even in the panel below it, after he throws the shield, like that is absolutely not how that would go.
The shield itself even looks flat. Like
you're right.
I don't buy the shield.
I know, but what you said, Jolie, is key. He's a mimic. That's what I was thinking. It's like, or like a parrot. Like he can say the words, but he doesn't know what the words mean. And for most of the time, he can fool us. But there's times like that where you go, oh, he actually doesn't know what he's doing. He's just copying other comic book artists.
Yeah, and it's like your inker can only save you so much. Like if I was inker in this case, like if his America's ass is just a big black splotch, and it's like, ugh, I can't even imagine how horrendous the pencils look underneath this.
Well, like if you jump to digital page 9, which is original page 6, the shot of the Hulk jumping out of that flying doohickey thing, like that's a good page. Like the Hulk's running in one direction, then the next panel he's smashing the other, then the way he's falling out, that's good. I'm pretty sure that's been swiped, but I mean all of that looks really good, so there's no holes there. And then as you flip through, it's like almost everything looks good, but once in a while there'll be a panel that pops out where you're like, oh, this is where he couldn't find a reference, so he just went from memory, and it's crap, you know?
Yeah. Right. And the weird thing to me, too, is, like, when he messes up, it's like you don't even understand where he's coming from. Like the Captain America thing. Like, what was the pose supposed to be? Right. It looks like Cap is, like, flapping like a bird. In that, like, his arms are coming back up to, like, flap down. Yeah, the shield even is, like, a cardboard, like a kid's drawing on a piece of cardboard that they cut out to play Captain America. Like, there's no shape or weight to it.
Right.
So, yeah, I when it works, it really does work, and when it's broken, it's really busted.
And you'd think that Joe Sinnot would go in and add some shading to that, but I guess he just didn't. I don't know, maybe he missed that. Yikes.
Or maybe he was just trying to out a colleague for being like an absolute horrendous artist.
Yeah.
Because look, I am the queen of petty, and that is exactly what I would do.
So okay, so basically, like I said, I did enjoy reading it, but it's not a great comic, so I think I would recommend it only on the basis of, like, it's fun while it lasts, but then as soon as it's over, you forget about it. In fact, you forget about it instantly, like we all did. So, Andrew, what's your take on this issue? Would you recommend it?
I give it 2 thumbs in. I guess. I mean, I wouldn't go out of my way to recommend it to somebody, but I mean, like, if you're looking for something to do, it's an okay read.
There you go. Okay, Josh, what do you think?
I don't think I would. The art is fun. There's some really great panel stuff, like small little details too that kind of make it good. But the story for me ends up like flopping.
Right.
But there is some really fun stuff. So like, I don't know. I wouldn't knock this comic out of somebody's hand if they were reading it. But I wouldn't go out of my way to like tell somebody to read it.
Right. Okay. G.I. Jolie?
No. Or is the question, would we recommend it? The answer is no.
Yeah.
There are other Plague stories that are a trillion times better that you can reference that'll heal your soul.
Yep. I can't argue with that. Okay, so now we are going to move on to Marvel 2-in-1 Annual, Josh. You like annuals. Why don't you summarize this one?
I love annuals. Yippee! So Marvel 2-in-1 is pretty similar to Marvel Team Up that we've been reading, except for it's the Thing that is constantly like having his own adventures with characters that are kind of appearing one by one. And this one, we start off with the Thing posing for his girlfriend Alicia, who is a sculptor, and she's doing some, they're just kind of like goofing around. There's some cute moments. They're having like a little, date kind of thing. And then this weird bug alien just kind of beams himself into the room and offers the Thing to, be part of a wrestling match. An alien wrestling match, and the Thing refuses, and this alien goes, okay, no hard feelings, and he shakes his hand and he steals him anyway. And then after that, we kind of cut to a bunch of other heroes also being taken away. We have Thor, we have Doc Samson, we have Submariner, Colossus, Sasquatch, and then we also have a quick moment with Scarlet Witch in the Vision, which I thought was kind of interesting. And the Vision, he originally comes to get the Vision, but the Vision is immediately disqualified because he's a synthetic organism, and he didn't realize that at first, which I thought was really interesting, because I was originally grasped by this because I thought that they were going to have the Vision be the hero and come and save them at the end of the issue. But that never came up again. It was just this weird thing that they put in because annual.
Right.
They gotta fill it.
Right.
It's an annual. We need more heroes. So, so then we're introduced to this Celestial called the Champion, who looks like this.
Buzz, your girlfriend.
Yeah. He's this like 80s, wrestler in a celestial body. He's got this like crazy 80s like orange hairdo and tights and this like gold champion belt around him. He pretty much tells all these heroes that he's gonna hook them up with some trainers. He's gonna have them train, and then he's gonna box them one-on-one. And it's pretty much them all training and then fighting them one-on-one, and they all lose, and once they lose, they're shipped back to Earth. And then the Thing, by the end of the comic, fights the Champion, and he does end up losing, but he doesn't get knocked out through all the rounds. And there's this weird message about how even though he lost, he's still a winner because his spirit didn't lose. And then the Champion beams him back to Earth anyways afterwards. And the comic pretty much says, wow, this is perhaps the greatest battle of his life, and the knowledge will help ease the pain of his broken limbs in the long, hard months that follow. Are you kidding me? I don't understand what this comic is about. What are they trying to tell me? I what's the message? What is the story? Nothing happens. They just are introduced to this dude, and he beats them all up and then sends them back to Earth and says, have fun, like, trying to feel better after this.
Well, so this is clearly, I mean, G.I. Jolie and I have talked about this for years, about how our pet peeve is those people that have those conversations in comic shops about, who would win in a fight, Wolverine or James Bond, and that's all this really is like, who would win in a fight between, and they just have everybody fight. Now,
yeah.
Right, but the thing is, though, that could be an interesting thing, I guess, but they didn't pit these heroes up against each other.
Right, that would have been better.
They just have this dude standing there punching them. Right. He doesn't have any powers except for punching them.
You're right, and it's actually kind of, you're right, it's kind of a wasted opportunity, because this guy, not only is this his first appearance, but he looks like a jackass, right?
He does.
Like, if you're going to have someone stronger than almost every character in the Marvel Universe, why make it this guy, That's got to be my pick for, I was going to say ugliest costume, but Wonder Man's costume is uglier, so this is second ugliest costume.
Wonder Man's pretty bad,
yeah. Although I got to say, as I've said before, I think Tom DeFalco arguably is the best mimic of Stan Lee's style of dialogue. So I actually found the dialogue pretty enjoyable. Like,
yeah, there are some fun parts.
Yeah, and the art is pretty good. Ron Wilson's I think he did almost every issue of Marvel 2-in-1. He's a good artist. So I actually enjoyed reading this, even though it amounted to almost nothing.
Right.
But G.I. Julie, you want to know your impression of this comic?
Well, I mean, I don't hate a gigantic brawl if you're going to give me something. And it started off like relatively strong. We get like Josh said, we get this like fun slice of life couple pages with him and the blind artist Alicia. And then suddenly he gets thrown into this battle where you have like Colossus, the Hulk, Submariner, freaking Sasquatch, I don't even know who that is, and then Wonder Man, and here's psychiatrist Leonard Samson. Like, I was in, and all my money was on freaking Leonard Samson because I was like, I never heard of this dude. He's a psychiatrist. He's obviously the most powerful. He will talk his way out of the ring. And I thought they were just going to have a big, like, an actual, I should have known better, like an actual graceful, logical smash up. No. Once I saw the champion, I closed the window, the tab that I was reading in. I was so angry. One, Federation rules are no metal handcuffs, so violator supreme. But like, I just, after that I was like, okay, so they're not going to do what I hoped that they would do, and they're never going to do it. Never. And like, people who want to see a big superhero brawl are also going to be pissed off probably as much as me about this lousy annual. Again, bringing superheroes together to not tell me anything at all.
Right.
Ugh.
Yeah.
I would rather them not have any action, not have any fights, and just have the Thing and Alicia go out on a date. That would be more interesting because there'd be more character things happening. Like that,
I'd read 34 pages of that for sure.
Something.
Yeah. I would read 34 pages of that, absolutely.
Yeah. That's the thing, whatever. I've spoken too much. Andrew, what do you think?
Okay, so against everyone else, I'm a big fan of like the villain, the typical villain who's so sure of himself that he can just like round up the toughest people in the universe and be like, okay, let's fight. But then that was kind of went the other direction there when he started just using a bunch of technicalities to get rid of everybody.
Yeah,
like,
like the Hulk.
Yeah.
That was a cheat when he just got rid of the Hulk. That was crap.
Yeah, he's like, I'm gonna fight everybody. Wait, you're a robot. No, it doesn't count. Oh, you're the Hulk. No, it doesn't count. Whatever, right? And you're like, oh, and then he just wins by getting everybody to leave. And you're like, oh,
right,
okay.
Yeah,
but,
that was Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
No, you're right. It's like even on that level, it was disappointing. It's like if you're gonna do this issue, have him fight the Hulk. Yeah, why not?
Yeah. There was I think it was near the end, there was a really cool panel of the Hulk, and he was like tearing through the gloves or whatever, and that was just because he's still ready to go, and it's kind of it's a really cool moment.
Well, so anyway, here's the thing. Let's talk about the art quickly. I really do like the art. Like, Ron Wilson's a guy I never really came across when I was a kid, but the more I see his art, I mean, I think he's a fine, artist. Any thoughts, guys?
There are like 60 inkers on this book.
Yeah, I was gonna say the art seems like it changes throughout for me.
I didn't notice that. You're right.
It really feels inconsistent
because it is. Yeah.
Not that it's like, I don't know. Not that there's any that stand out that are really bad, but it's just jarring. Like, right. Especially when you go. I don't have the digital pages here, but when the Thing is fighting the champion near the end, he's introduced. He like throws a couple of punches in, and then the next page, like the Thing goes from being, I don't know if it's just the photocopy for this one page, but the Thing looks like yellow instead of orange. Like his inking is like really thin lines instead of like the thick the thick shading and
Right.
shadowing. Like it completely jumps, almost like a different comic, and then cuts how it's been the rest of the issue.
Yeah, you know what? I think you're talking about Digital 43 to Digital 44. You're right. It's almost like everything. The paper even changes, it looks like. Like all of a sudden,
Yeah.
he's a brighter shade of yellow. The inking is different. Yeah, everything's different. But I guess, again, this shows the importance of an inker. Like if you go to the next page, Digital 45, the inking is actually really good on this page.
Mm-hmm.
It's really the fluid and organic, but... Yeah, and then the next page when Champion punches him and the thing is flying over backwards, that's a great shot, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But then if you go to the very, very last 2 pages, the very last page when the thing falls forward, that inking is garbage. I mean, it's pretty sloppy, you know?
Right.
So, yeah, definitely inconsistent, but I think underneath it you can see that Ron Wilson's a good penciler.
Right.
I think, anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Okay, now here's a question. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say this whole premise is so confusing to me. Is this on an alien planet? Is that what we're supposed to? That's what we're supposed to gather from this, right?
Yeah.
Why is it just humans in the crowd? Why is it just dudes watching this? What? I guess. How did the
they
X-Men
put it in the papers all around the world?
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
No, wait a
tickets,
minute.
right?
No, it's in Madison
Wasn't that
Square Garden.
Oh,
Isn't
they
it?
did.
Yeah, it's in Madison
Wasn't
Square
that a
Garden.
thing where they could actually buy tickets
That's
to go see it?
right.
Yeah.
That's right. You're right.
There is a whole panel devoted to a box office scene.
Right.
Yeah, you're right.
And then
Like-
there's
Scalpers and everything.
a scene where Cyclops and Wolverine are trying to kind of like break through, and yeah, so there's definitely, it's on Earth, yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
So yeah, basically this story could have been done and it could have been improved if there was like greater stakes, like maybe whoever wins, like it has a greater purpose to the story, but in this case it's just him fighting them. And it's like you said, it's like you get to the end, it's like, okay, what is this? Is this supposed to be like Rocky where we admire him because he didn't get knocked down and like that's the lesson of the story? I don't know.
Space Rocky.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. I don't know. I did enjoy, again, it's very similar. I enjoyed reading this, but it's not really a good story. Jolie, what do you think?
That's what I think. Honestly, that's it. I just... Oh, God.
Andrew, what's your review?
It was, like you said, it was like a Space Rocky. It's fun, kind of, but then once you get into this parts where he starts just kind of like banning everybody, you're like, okay, that's kind of... like the first appearance of this guy, he's like this super massive, supposed to be like legendary space fighter, and then he just kind of like blows everybody off, and you're like, oh. So I think there could have been more done in that aspect.
Yeah.
Right.
It's also weird too. Like he is gigantic, right? Like he's like a foot and a half taller than Thor when we see them face off against each other, and like he's supposed to be a celestial, right? Like he's the he's the god of like champions.
No, he's not a celestial. He is an elder of the universe.
Elder, right?
Yeah.
So wait, what's the difference? Isn't that a celestial though? Isn't a celestial like an elder of the universe?
No, a celestial is a specific race of aliens that like judge the Earth every like 100,000 years or whatever. Elders of the universe is like a whole other group of people.
Oh, okay.
It's easy to get them mixed up, though. Understandable.
Okay.
Yeah, and I don't know what else to say about this. I'll just say I think my assessment of Tom DeFalco is that he knows how to do fun. He knows how to do like superhero hijinks, but he has absolutely no aspirations to making something good. You know what I mean? It's like or like serious, like he knows the genre, he knows how to do it, but if you were to ask him if he was making art or making, he would just be like, no, this is trash, That's my take on him. Like I think he's trying to make it good, but not serious, He's not trying to make serious literature here, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, Andrew, would you recommend this?
Yeah, why not? I think it was fun.
Right. Yeah, I thought it was fun too. It was fun, but not. Yeah, like we said, it's not going to win any awards, but it's definitely fun.
Yeah.
And quickly to answer your question, Jolie, Sasquatch is one of the members of Alpha Flight. It's the Canadian Avengers.
Excellent.
Yeah.
He still lost. Whatever.
Yeah, he did.
Okay, so
Sorry,
yeah,
I'm just we're still recovering from that awful Party City wig he's wearing. Sorry. Next.
Okay, so now we're gonna jump to Incredible Hulk 277. Andrew, what do you think? Want to summarize this for us?
This is going to be the Sparks Notes version, but feel free to fill in the blanks here. But yeah, so basically, Bruce Banner, the Hulk, gets captured by this group of I don't want to call them mutants, but villains, I suppose, called the UFOs. Right. And, everybody, it kind of cuts around to show everybody's reaction to this because they're broadcasting it live all over the world. And most people are kind of startled about it. And they're like, oh, no, we got to go kind of find him and help him. But they can't find him. But yeah, they basically, the whole thing is they're pretty much mad at Bruce Banner for something to do with their rocket ship failure, and then they gave them powers and they're mad, and yeah, and then it's the whole comic's just everyone kind of trying to find him, and eventually they do, and they're like, oh, let go of our friend, and then they get him down, and then he uses strength to beat up everything.
Well, you know what? I gotta say, I actually really enjoyed this comic, okay? It's got the same writer, Bill Mantlo, as the other Hulk story we read this week, but the art is by our pal, Sal Buscema, and he's a classic Marvel artist, and I don't know if it was because it was him, or I don't know what it was, but everything, like, this is ridiculous, let's be clear. This is not literature, but I really enjoyed reading this comic because it felt like everything gelled, everything fit together, you know? And
yeah,
I like these characters. I've always liked these characters just from seeing them in Marvel Universe, the UFOs. And I love how they explain their origin. And I think it's so awesome how they talk about how they purposely try to mimic the accident that gave the Fantastic Four, their powers. But then Bruce Banner, realized they were doing it, so he intervened and then crashed the thing, but they still got powers. And he's like, but we were no longer human. The cosmic rays had given us that power which we sought. Since I, millionaire industrialist Simon Utrecht, had financed the flight, we called ourselves the UFOs. Like, it's so cool. It's just classic,
silly,
ridiculous, superhero fun, but it totally works. And for me, it's Sal Buscema, such a good storyteller. And then you get to the end and you even get this really cool moment because, there's nothing I like better than an ending like this where it's just, they're just fighting, but it's clever the way that he uses all their powers against them. And then at the end, he's like, that's your third and last mistake, Vector. You've made me extremely mad. And one characteristic of my being the Hulk is that the madder I get, the stronger I get. And then he actually breaks both of his hands and says, 3 strikes and you're out. And that's the end. It's just a shot of them all laying there, all defeated around him. And it's just like, wow, if you're going to do like a silly superhero story, to me, this is exactly how you do it. Mm-hmm. What do you think, Josh?
Yeah, I definitely enjoyed this one the best out of the rest of the issues. I really like that we didn't have to stop and retell everything that happened last issue. It was done like through the story, right. With the UFOs kind of having this like broadcast showing all the other heroes, so it felt natural. We didn't have to like stop the action to have like 2 or 3 pages of flashbacks. Mm-hmm. It was kind of interesting to see the other heroes see this broadcast and not be able to do anything, because I feel like that's sometimes some of the trouble of having this huge universe with all of these heroes. It's like, why didn't any of these other heroes come in to help you?
Sure.
Like, you're all in New York, most of you. Like, why hasn't anybody swung in to help Spider-Man more often when he's, fighting
Right.
Doc Ock and trying to save Black Cat? So this is kind of like a nice little explanation as to, like, why nobody can go help the Hulk, especially when it's being broadcasted everywhere. But I will say, I felt like maybe it was just a little too long.
Really?
Yeah, it was the first, 6 pages? 6 or 7 pages was just all of the other heroes reacting and saying, we can't do anything.
Sure.
And then after that, we are introduced to this new character that I've never heard of before,
that?
Breet.
Yes.
I've never heard of her before. She is just kind of thrown into the story, and is her whole deal is briefly explained in just like a couple of little word panels. And then she just kind of becomes one of the main heroes saving Bruce Banner. I don't know why she's on this gamma radiation base with them, why she's on scene. I don't know why she hasn't helped earlier, because they're already there.
It's because her purse contains a spatial disorder, obviously.
Well, that's why the robots all popped out. But like, why? But like, why is she there to begin with? Right? Like, I don't know. She's an interesting character, and I like the idea that she's like this alien artist creating these like abstract robots. But if if my creations must be used to fight to save the day, I guess that's what I'll do. Like, I know it's kind of an interesting thing, but we don't really get to explore it. We don't really get to explore her. She just kind of sends them out, frees the Hulk, and then the Hulk ends up saving the day at the end. There's a couple of panels where these robots are fighting the UFOs, but they're defeated really quick, and then Hulk has to come in. I do really like how we have also Bruce Banner and Hulk being one, and having the strength of the Hulk, and then the brain of Bruce Banner, and him actually like defeating his foes through his wit.
Right.
Like, yeah, he is just kind of punching a lot, but he's defeating them, by putting the two together, because he knows that they won't react well together, and one gets melted away, and he knows that the other one, like, his powers is coming from his hand blast, so he breaks his hand so he can't use them.
That.
Like,
yep.
It really I like this version of the Hulk a lot better than the brainless Hulk having dinner with his weird roommates.
Yeah, like that dumb version of the Hulk Smash, is good only to laugh at. Yeah, I don't like that version of the Hulk.
Yeah. By himself. I think that there's some fun stuff with the Hulk being the caveman Hulk with other characters when he's not the main hero.
Right.
But when we're following just him and he's like caveman the entire time,
right.
I'm done.
Tedious.
I don't want to read this.
Yep.
So definitely nice seeing the Professor Banner.
Right.
Professor Hulk.
Andrew,
is
what do you
this
think?
woman?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Jolie.
Is this woman Betty? Who is she?
Funny enough, this is his love. Like, this is his Mary Jane Watson. Like, he eventually marries Betty, and the characterization of her in this issue is she's a total bitch. So I don't know where that comes from or where that goes, but later in life she gets much nicer.
Yeah, because that's the thing is, like, what Josh was saying, I don't know what Breed is for. It's like, well, it's clearly to argue with this Betty woman who wants to just sacrifice Bruce.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So yeah, well, Jolie, yeah. So overall, what's your impression then?
Garbage. Throw it in the river.
All right. Okay, Andrew.
I think it was interesting seeing everybody's kind of standpoint on whether they either seem to like or hate the Hulk, with the exception of Namor being kind of in the middle. He's just kind of like, whatever. But yeah, it was cool because people either wanted him safe or dead. So them all trying to work together, but in their own little separate ways, trying to help him out. But I forgot what the other part I was going to say. But yeah, no, it was really cool seeing how everything kind of came together and how in the end, like you were saying, he kind of used his brain instead of necessarily his just brute strength to kind of best his foes.
Mm-hmm. So Jolie, you got nothing out of this.
No. I mean, I want to see all this woman's purses. She came from a planet, like an intergalactic planet. I want a series that's this woman. But like most comics, I know they're just gonna F that up anyway. So, it's not that I didn't get anything out of it. It's just there wasn't. I don't know. It's not believable for me. It's not believable that the Hulk is in peril this much. Mm-hmm. But I guess I just don't really understand his the difference between how he controls his human state and transforming into the, what do they call him all the time? The Emerald Isles?
Giant?
No, yeah.
Emerald Giant?
The Jolly Green Giant.
Or whatever, yeah.
They don't really, it's not, I can't fully reconcile the amount of danger he's potentially in or out of.
Yeah.
Because it seems like he's either not good enough for a big brawl, or he's, he can't be rescued twice now. I don't know.
Well, what did you think of the UFOs?
Stupid.
Vector, Vapor, X-ray, and Ironclad.
I definitely wanted to see more of them. But I think it's also kind of, it's just funny to see. This is just, maybe it's just me. I want to see the Hulk or the Thing on a date. I want to see the son of Satan curled up on the couch with a freaking gargoyle watching a tube television. That's what I want.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
This is what I'm getting.
Well,
the UFOs are cool. I just wish maybe they could have spent more time on them. I don't know. I always complain whenever they spend more than 2 pages on backstory. So it was an appropriate amount, but I mean, I don't know. They look cool. That's about it. That's the thing about comics is just, it's just a bunch of shit that looks cool.
Sometimes.
With words that are pretty intelligible.
You mean mainstream superhero comics when you say that, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Andrew, do you love or do you like or do you hate the UFOs?
If I were to be given one of their powers, I wouldn't oppose.
You wouldn't complain.
I wouldn't be like, no thanks, I'll just keep on being me. But yeah,
but it's
they're pretty cool, I guess. The whole backstory thing, though, like Julie was saying, kind of takes you out of it because they're like, oh, now we captured Bruce Banner. Here's our backstory, but he's like, I already know you guys. You don't need to explain it. I was there.
Right.
And then, so yeah, it was a little long re-explaining that. But as far as villains goes, they're not the best.
Yeah. Well, not the best, but I think they're definitely cool as a one-off or whatever. Mm-hmm. But okay, so yeah, I definitely recommend this. It was definitely the most fun of the bunch, and I gotta say, this actually makes me want to read more Hulk comics, especially if they're drawn by Sal Buscema. I'm definitely going to read more. But Andrew, do you recommend this comic?
You know what? I do. Awesome. I do it. Yeah.
Jolie, do you recommend this comic?
If the last 3 comics in the world were this comic, Annual number 11, and 2-in-1 number 7, I would recommend this comic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's okay. It's not terrible, but it's I'm not I'm not obsessed with Hulk. Let's just say that.
Right.
Once I read, I need to read something that makes me obsessed with the Hulk, and this didn't do it.
Right. I'll agree with that. So yeah.
I've got a question.
Sure.
Maybe I'm just forgetting, but were the UFOs using something to scramble the broadcast so they couldn't so nobody could figure out where Hulk was?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They were? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
They
I just wanted
thought
to make
of
sure.
that. Yeah, there's no plot holes in this comic. Come on. Anyway,
Right. I'm just. I don't know. I'm just saying. They were trying to find the Hulk, and all these superheroes were thinking like, oh, where could the Hulk be?
Yeah.
Where? Let me think real hard. And they couldn't think. Not Doctor Strange, not Professor X, not Spider-Man. Nobody could think. Maybe the Gamma Lab. Hey, maybe maybe the Gamma Radiation Lab. Do you think maybe Bruce Banner, the doctor, the scientist who studies gamma radiation, do you think maybe he's in the Gamma Lab?
Yeah,
You know-
that lab he works in.
it would have
when
been.
he's not the Hulk.
It probably would have been better to just cut that part out. Like you said, it's like they always have to explain why no one's helping them. They should have just not mentioned it, and then no one would question it, right?
Right.
Anyway, so yeah, this week was a little bit different, obviously, because we didn't get much Spidey. So yeah, I don't know, Andrew, how much Spidey you were expecting, but you didn't get much this week.
Yeah,
but
sorry about that.
I definitely appreciate you joining
I
us.
was expecting some.
Yeah, we'll have you
There's,
on.
I think, in 3 comics, I think there was 3 panels. So
Okay, tell you what. Next time you're on, if you're not scared away, then we'll get some regular issues of Spidey in there for you. How's that?
I did still enjoy it, but sure.
But remember, you asked for it.
Yeah,
because they're not always good there either.
that's true. That's true. Yeah. So anyway, Josh, you can take it from here.
All right, we want to thank you guys for listening. If you like the podcast, it really helps when you leave a review over on Apple Podcast or drop us a comment or a tweet. You can reach us over at HCT Spidercast or at Comic Syndicate over on Twitter, and pretty much anywhere else you can find us at the Comic Book Syndicate. We want to keep this conversation going, so please keep in touch.
Awesome. That's right. And every week we do a batch of Bronze Age Spidey comics in roughly chronological order. And lately we've been switching up and covering some crossovers, which we did this week. Next week, we'll be back to our regularly scheduled Spider-Man comics. So until next Monday, this has been Here Comes the Spider-Cast.
See you then.